They say home is your sanctuary, a haven to retreat to after the wearing battles of the day. I used to believe that. I believed in the nest I had spent a decade of my youth building. I never imagined that within that very sanctuary, in the luxurious master bathroom I had designed myself, a scene of such filth, a betrayal so cruel would unfold, turning my home into a tragic stage. And I, once a devoted wife, was forced to become an unwilling director, staging a party that my husband and his family would never be able to stomach for the rest of their lives. That evening, I decided to come home earlier than usual. It was our 10th wedding anniversary, a milestone I had been eagerly anticipating for so long. I had turned down a crucial meeting, shelving all my work at the spa to personally prepare a special dinner for my husband. On the way, I stopped by a wine shop to pick out the finest bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon, the one Michael had always dreamed of. My heart soared with a simple happiness, picturing the surprise and joy on his face when he saw it all. 10 years is not a short journey. We had weathered so many storms together, and I always believed our love was strong enough to overcome anything. As the car rolled into the driveway, I sensed something was off. The front door was slightly ajar, not locked as it always was. I frowned slightly, but then thought it must have been Ashley, our young housekeeper, who had just stepped out to take out the trash and forgotten to lock it. I carried the groceries and the wine into the house. The large house was unusually quiet. Normally, Ashley would have run out to greet me, chattering with questions, but today there was no one in sight. "Ashley, is Michael home yet?" I called out, but only silence answered. Perhaps she had gone back to her hometown to visit family as she had requested a few days ago. And Michael probably wasn't back yet. I sighed a little disappointed, but then smiled to myself. Well, this just gave me more time to prepare. The surprise would be even greater. I set the bags on the kitchen counter, slipped off my work blazer, leaving on the thin silk dress I wore underneath, and began to arrange everything. As I walked past the living room, my gaze suddenly fell upon the master bathroom door on the first floor. The door was meant only for my husband and me. It was slightly ajar, a faint glow emanating from within. I heard the sound of running water, not the shower but the steady, soft gurgle of the bathtub filling. My heart skipped a beat. Was Michael home? Why didn't he let me know? He must be planning a surprise for me too. The thought made me smile. I tiptoed closer, intending to give him a playful scare. But when I was just a few feet from the door, I froze. The sound of water continued, but mixed with it was another sound. Laughter, not from one person but two. One was the deep, warm laugh so familiar to me it was part of my own breath. Michael's. The other was a high, clear, tinkling laugh. A voice I heard every day. "Oh, you're so silly." It was Ashley's voice. The blood in my veins turned to ice. My entire body went numb as if struck by lightning. No, it couldn't be. I must have misheard. Ashley had gone home. He was probably just watching TV in there. I tried to cling to that absurd reason, my trembling hand bracing against the wall. But then the sounds that followed shattered all my self-deception. The splash of water, the soft whispers, and the faint, unmistakable moans. They were like thousands of poison needles stabbing my eardrums, piercing my chest, and lodging themselves in my heart. The world started to spin, and I struggled to stay upright. I clung to the wall, staggering forward, and peeked through the crack in the door. And then I saw it. A scene that even if I were to descend into the underworld, I would never forget. In the hazy steam, under the warm yellow light of the bathroom, Michael, the husband I shared my bed with every night, was soaking in the jacuzzi. And sitting across from him, completely naked, was Ashley. She was leaning against the back of the tub, her long, slender legs draped over my husband's shoulders. He was massaging her bare back, his mouth curved into a tender smile as he spoke. They were bathing together in my bathtub, in my house on our 10th wedding anniversary. Strangely, I didn't cry. The tears wouldn't fall. The overwhelming pain seemed to have morphed into something else, something colder and sharper. It felt as if a monster had been awakened from the depths of my soul. I silently backed away, step by step, without making a sound. I didn't scream. I didn't bang on the door. I didn't do any of the things a betrayed wife would normally do. My mind was blank yet terrifyingly lucid. I went straight to the second floor into our master bedroom, then to Ashley's room. I opened their closets with a chilling calmness. My hands began to gather all of their clothes. From the expensive suits and designer silk dresses to their underwear. I took everything, not leaving a single thread. I grabbed their towels, their phones, and their wallets from the nightstands. I brought everything down to the first floor and tossed it into a hidden corner of the storage closet. Then I returned to the hallway and walked toward the bathroom. Their laughter still echoed, nauseating and shrill. I gently closed the door. I took the key ring from my purse and found the key to the master bathroom. I inserted it into the lock. The click of metal against metal was dry and stark. I turned the key. A second click echoed, locked. They were trapped inside, completely naked. Not a scrap of clothing to cover themselves. No phone, no escape. With that done, I calmly walked into the living room and sat down on the soft leather sofa. I picked up my phone, my fingers flying across the screen, opening the group text. I found the chat with the deceptively lovely name, the Anderson Family Circle, where my in-laws, Michael's aunts, and uncles were all present. I took a deep breath and typed a message, the tone cheerful and enthusiastic. Hey everyone, I have a huge surprise. We're throwing a special party at our place tonight. I'd be honored if you could all come over right now to celebrate with us. There's going to be a very unique performance that I guarantee you'll never forget. I hit send. A notification pinged. I put my phone down on the table, leaned back, and closed my eyes. From the bathroom, the sound of frantic knocking and panicked screams had begun. A cold smile spread across my lips. My surprise party was only just beginning. The frantic screams of Michael and the piercing sobs of Ashley echoed from behind the bathroom door. But they no longer reached me. They were just background noise to a silent film replaying in my head. A 10-year-long film titled Happiness. 10 years ago, I was Chloe, a 26-year-old woman with a bright future. I had just received a full scholarship for a master's in business administration at a prestigious university in London. A golden ticket I had worked tirelessly to earn. My family and friends were all thrilled for me. They said I was about to spread my wings and fly. But then I met Michael. He was 2 years my senior. The marketing manager at a subsidiary where I was interning. He was handsome with a warm smile and a way with words that could melt the most cynical heart. He pursued me with persistence and romance. He didn't promise me the world. He just said, "Stay here with me, Chloe. Your sky doesn't have to be somewhere far away. It can be right here in my arms." And I, a woman who had always been strong and rational, fell for it. I gave up my London dream, my scholarship, the promising career path that lay ahead. I chose him, a future I believed would be filled with sunshine and blue skies. Our wedding was celebrated with everyone's blessings. My parents, though a bit regretful for their daughter's lost opportunity, were content seeing me happy. My mother-in-law, Barbara, was an incredibly understanding woman at the time. She held my hand and said, "Chloe, my son Michael can be a bit childish, a bit of an artist. Now that you're here, be his wife and his friend. Guide him for me. From now on, you're my daughter." I was moved to tears, vowing to love this family as my own. The first years of our marriage were truly a honeymoon. We lived in a small rented apartment, but it was always filled with laughter. I decided not to work for anyone else. With the small nest egg my parents gave me as a wedding gift, I opened a small boutique spa specializing in organic skincare. It was my passion, and I wanted to turn it into a career. Michael was completely supportive. "You do what you love," he said. "I'll take care of everything else." But life is no fairy tale. My spa struggled initially and his job wasn't going well either. There were times when we had only a couple of hundred to last the week, but we didn't give up. I worked late nights and early mornings developing my own products, personally attending to clients. After work, he would help me hand out flyers and clean the shop. During those difficult days, our love grew even stronger. I thought as long as I had him by my side, I could overcome any hardship. And then our hard work paid off. My spa started to gain a reputation. Clients flocked in. From a small shop, I expanded to a chain of the 3 largest spas in the city. Money was no longer an issue. The first thing I did wasn't to shop for myself, but to buy a mansion in a new suburban development. A spacious house with a garden where my in-laws could be comfortable whenever they visited. I didn't hesitate for a moment to put the house in both our names. I thought of it as our joint achievement. I bought Michael a luxury car to make his commute easier, to shield him from the elements. I bought my mother-in-law the diamond jewelry and designer handbags she had only ever seen in magazines. I found a stable job for my sister-in-law at a friend's company. I did it all without a second thought, with the simple belief that they were my family. Michael, with the solid financial backing I provided, also climbed the corporate ladder quickly. He was promoted to marketing director, becoming a successful, polished man. He became busier, but his love for me seemed unchanged. He still called me every afternoon, still bought me surprise gifts, still whispered sweet nothings every night. He always said, "Half of my success today is because of you. You are the greatest woman in my life." I was lost in those words. I was proud that I was not only successful in my career, but also had a loving husband and an appreciative family. I thought I was the happiest woman in the world. I didn't know it was all an illusion. That behind my back, the husband I trusted implicitly was using the very glamour I provided to build another world. A sinful world, where I was just a faint shadow. And I had no idea that my decision, born out of concern for his hard work, would be the very act of opening the door for a viper to slither in and destroy my home. Our life continued in that state of feigned bliss. My spas flourished and Michael's work became increasingly demanding. He often had to travel for business, entertaining important clients late into the night. I was completely understanding. I knew the pressure a man in his position faced. I just quietly supported him from behind, taking care of his meals and his rest. Seeing him come home exhausted, having to do his own laundry and ironing, I felt a pang of sympathy. I suggested to him, "Honey, why don't we hire a housekeeper? You've been working so hard lately. With someone to help around the house, you'll have more time to rest." Michael initially refused. He held my hand, his voice full of emotion. "No, honey, I can manage. I don't want a stranger in our house invading our privacy." Hearing that, my love for him deepened. But after I persuaded him a few more times, saying I was busy too and didn't have much time to care for him, he reluctantly agreed. "All right, whatever you want, but we have to find someone trustworthy and gentle. I don't like nosy, gossipy types." And then Ashley appeared, introduced by a distant relative of my mother-in-law. The first time I met Ashley, I had a very good impression. She was only 19 or 20 with an oval face and big, dark, innocent eyes that always looked at people with a timid, fearful expression. Her father passed away when she was young, and her mother is constantly ill. She has several younger siblings to support, so she had to drop out of school to come to the city to earn a living, the relative explained. My heart went out to her. I looked at the thin, pale girl in her worn-out clothes and felt a wave of compassion. I decided to hire Ashley on the spot, offering her a salary even higher than experienced housekeepers. I treated her like a younger sister. I bought her new clothes and all the personal necessities she needed. I told her, "Consider this your home, Ashley. If you have any problems, just talk to me. Don't be shy." Ashley proved to be an incredibly diligent and discreet housekeeper. She did everything from cleaning and cooking to laundry flawlessly. She was an excellent cook, always knowing how to vary the menu to suit our tastes. She was quiet, always doing her work silently, never prying into our affairs. I was very satisfied, thinking I had found the perfect person. Michael seemed a bit uncomfortable at first, but then he gradually opened up. He complimented Ashley's cooking and her hard work. My mother-in-law, on her visits, would also praise her. "This girl is a real find. Quick, clean, and so gentle. Chloe, you really have a good eye for people." I didn't know that behind that innocent and pitiful facade was a calculating mind. I didn't know that my kindness had been turned into a tool, a passport for her to enter my home and systematically take everything that belonged to me. The first signs were so small that I dismissed them. Once I came home from a business trip to find a vase of white lilies on the dining table, a flower I'm allergic to. When I asked, Ashley stammered, "Oh, I saw they were beautiful, so I bought them." "I'm so sorry, ma'am. I didn't know you were allergic." Michael immediately defended her. "Come on, Chloe. She didn't know. It was a nice gesture. Don't be so hard on her." "I thought so too. It was just an oversight. I didn't know it was a test, a subtle provocation. Then there were times I'd catch Ashley wearing low-cut tank tops and ridiculously short shorts while cleaning the house. When she saw me, she'd quickly grab a jacket to cover up an apologetic look on her face. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. All my clothes are wet. I'm just wearing this temporarily again." Michael came to her defense. "It's so hot. She's just trying to stay cool. You're being too sensitive. It's just the three of us. Who's going to notice?" I fell silent again. I blamed myself. Was I being too harsh, too suspicious? But things became more and more obvious. I started noticing the strange looks Michael gave Ashley. Lingering glances that lasted a little too long. The times he would accidentally brush his hand against hers when passing something. The playful jokes that were a bit too familiar. A vague sense of unease began to creep in. But whenever I was about to say something, he would shut me down with perfectly reasonable excuses. "She's just a poor, innocent girl. Don't treat her like that. You're the employer. You should be more generous. Don't let your baseless jealousy ruin the family atmosphere." He twisted my legitimate concerns into selfishness and pettiness. He built a perfect victim narrative for Ashley, a naive girl being picked on by her difficult boss. And in that play, I had unwittingly become the villain. I didn't know that while I was tormenting myself with self-doubt, a sinful relationship was already budding behind my back, just waiting for the right moment to bloom in my own home. The sense of unease was like a dark cloud, initially just a small speck on the horizon, but it grew larger and larger, eventually shrouding my entire blue sky. I tried to push away the negative thoughts, telling myself I was being overly sensitive. But the strange behaviors from Michael and Ashley became more frequent, more blatant, refusing to let me turn a blind eye any longer. It started with small things. Michael began to pay an unusual amount of attention to his appearance. He bought many new clothes, started using a more expensive cologne, and spent more time in front of the mirror each morning. When I asked, he just laughed. "I have to maintain my image, right? My wife is a big boss after all." The explanation was sweet, but something felt wrong. He was changing, not for me, but for someone else. Then there were nights he'd claim to have client meetings, but would come home smelling not of alcohol, but of his own cologne. He also started having secret phone calls. He would often go out to the balcony, shutting the glass door firmly behind him. When I got close, he would hastily hang up. "It's just work stuff, nothing for you to worry about." His furtiveness made me extremely uncomfortable. We started having small arguments, tense silences. The atmosphere in our home was no longer warm and cozy. And then one evening, I found the first piece of evidence, irrefutable proof. As I was gathering his dirty laundry for the washing machine, I discovered a faint smudge of cherry red lipstick on the collar of his white shirt. My heart felt like it was being squeezed. I knew for a fact it wasn't my lipstick. I wore a different shade and I never had the habit of leaving marks on my husband's clothes. I stood frozen in the laundry room holding the shirt, feeling like I was holding the knife that had just stabbed me. I didn't cause a scene right away. I tried to remain calm. I set the shirt aside and waited until Michael was done with his shower. When he came out, a towel wrapped around his waist, I held up the shirt, my voice steady. "Can you explain this lipstick stain to me?" Michael glanced at the stain, his face changing color for a split second, but he quickly regained his composure, even laughing naturally. "Oh, this? It must have been from dinner with the partners. Their new secretary had a bit too much to drink and probably brushed against me when we toasted." "It's nothing, honey. You're overthinking things again." He moved to hug me, but I took a step back, my eyes fixed on him cold. "Just an accident? Are you sure?" "Of course I'm sure," he said, his voice firm. "You don't trust me. In the past 10 years, have I ever lied to you about anything?" His question was like a knife twisting in my wound. Yes. For 10 years, I had trusted him blindly, and that very trust now made me feel like an idiot. "All right, I won't argue. In that case, let me wash this shirt for you myself." I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there, stunned. But I didn't wash the shirt. I carefully placed it in a bag and hid it in my closet. It would be the first piece of evidence. From that night on, I was no longer the naive Chloe. I began my own investigation, a silent and painful one. I started paying attention to everything. I noted Michael's schedule, his business trips, the times he came home late. I checked our joint bank account statements, discovering unusual cash withdrawals and payments at places he never told me about. I started watching Ashley too. I saw her secretly using her phone during work hours. Once I walked past her room and saw her hugging a large teddy bear, the same one I saw Michael bring home a few days earlier. He had said it was a birthday gift for his boss's daughter. Another lie. My mother-in-law, Barbara, was also acting strangely. She visited more often, not to see me, but to chat with Ashley. They would often sit in the kitchen whispering. The moment I appeared, they would fall silent. She also started buying gifts for Ashley, a pretty hair clip, a jar of face cream. She treated Ashley better than she treated me. I felt a dark alliance forming in my own home, and I was being pushed to the periphery. Suspicion, loneliness, and the feeling of betrayal gnawed at my soul. I became quieter, more withdrawn. Michael, noticing this, feigned concern. "What's wrong lately? You always look so tired and worried. You have to talk to me if something's bothering you." He played the part of the caring husband perfectly, while he was the one causing all my pain. I just forced a faint smile and shook my head. "I'm fine, just a lot of work." I couldn't speak the truth. I didn't have enough proof. If I made a scene now, they would deny everything and I would become the paranoid, jealous wife. I had to wait to gather more evidence. I had to find one piece of undeniable, concrete proof to expose all of them. And I didn't know that my next decision, one that seemed so modern and clever, would be the very thing that would bring me the most horrifying evidence of all. Living under the same roof with people you suspect are deceiving you is a form of torture. Every day I had to put on a mask, pretending to be happy, to be trusting. While my heart was twisting in pain and doubt, I knew I couldn't live like this forever. I needed to know the truth, no matter how ugly. Then an idea came to me. Cameras. In this age of technology, nothing reveals the truth more effectively than electronic eyes that never sleep. Under the pretext of ensuring home security, I proposed installing a surveillance system to Michael. Perhaps not wanting to appear suspicious, he agreed immediately. "That's a great idea, honey. Security is a real concern these days. Let's get them installed for peace of mind." He even seemed enthusiastic, offering to contact an installation company himself. But I was one step ahead. I told him a friend of mine in the field could do it for a better price and guarantee our privacy. It was, of course, a lie. I had done my own research and selected a type of tiny hidden camera that could be perfectly disguised and connected directly to my phone. That day, I took the day off work, claiming I needed to supervise the installation. I had the technician install regular visible cameras in obvious places like the gate, the yard, and the living room. But simultaneously, I secretly installed the micro cameras in what I considered the most sensitive spots. One was hidden in the desk clock in the living room facing the sofa. Another was disguised as a phone charger in Michael's home office. The last one I placed in a discreet corner of the kitchen. I didn't dare put one in our bedroom. Perhaps a part of me was still afraid to face the worst possible scene. For the first few days, everything seemed normal. On my phone screen, I only saw daily routines. Ashley worked diligently and Michael left for and came home from work on time. I began to wonder if I had truly become paranoid. But then on a Wednesday afternoon, while I was at the office, a motion alert from the living room camera popped up on my phone. I opened it. Michael was home early. He had told me he had an important meeting that would last late into the evening. Another lie. He walked in, looked around, and went straight to the kitchen where Ashley was preparing dinner. I switched to the kitchen camera, and then I saw it. Michael walked up behind Ashley and wrapped his arms around her waist, hugging her from behind. She didn't resist at all. She leaned her head back against his shoulder, giggling. They whispered something to each other. Then Michael bent down and kissed the nape of her neck. His hands were no longer just on her waist. They began to wander downwards. Rage boiled inside me. I had to bite my lip hard to keep from screaming in the middle of my office. So it was true. It was no longer suspicion. It was a filthy reality unfolding in my own house. I wanted to rush home and catch them in the act, but my rational mind held me back. This evidence wasn't strong enough. They could claim it was just a moment of playful fun. I needed something more definitive. I turned off the screen trying to focus on work, but my mind was in a turmoil. The final blow came 2 days later on a Friday morning. I told everyone I had to go on a business trip to a neighboring state and would be back late. Of course, I went nowhere. I drove to a coffee shop near our house, sat there, and glued my eyes to my tablet, which was live streaming the feed from the cameras. After I left, Michael didn't go to work either. He stayed home claiming to feel unwell. The house was left to just him and Ashley. They didn't act immediately. They still maintained a certain distance, as if they were on guard. But then around 10 a.m., my mother-in-law, Barbara, arrived. I was surprised. What was she doing there at this hour? And then the conversation among the three of them, recorded clearly by the cameras, revealed a horrifying conspiracy. "Mom, why are you here now?" Michael's voice was slightly annoyed. "If I didn't come, how would I know you two are being so lazy?" Barbara said, but her tone was not accusatory. She sat down on the sofa, and Ashley quickly brought her a glass of water. "Is that Chloe girl gone?" she asked. "Yes, she's on a business trip until late tonight," Michael replied. "Good." Barbara nodded. "Then I'll make this quick. I know all about you too." Michael and Ashley froze, looking at each other. "Mom, what are you talking about? Don't play innocent with me." Barbara sneered. "Did you think you could hide it from me? But fine, I don't blame you. What man doesn't like something new and exciting? That Chloe girl is capable, it's true, but she's too rigid, always focused on work. It's understandable that you're tired of her." I couldn't believe my ears. My mother-in-law not only knew, but she condoned it. Her voice turned serious. "But play around all you want. You have to be smart about it. You absolutely cannot let Chloe find out. If she finds out and makes a scene, demands a divorce, and divides the assets, it will be a huge mess. Everything is in her name right now. If you divorce now, you'll walk away with nothing, son." "So, what should I do, Mom?" Michael asked, his voice full of confusion. "Just keep seeing Ashley, but be discreet," Barbara said, her voice dripping with calculation. "She's gentle and indebted to our family. She won't dare say a word. Just treat it as having another sister to take care of. As for Chloe, just keep being sweet to her, so she continues to bring money into this family. Wait a few more years when we have full control of the finances. Then you can leave her if you want." She turned to Ashley and patted her hand. "You too, dear. Just be good and listen to me. I'll make sure you're taken care of." I sat frozen in the coffee shop, my whole body trembling. So this wasn't just an affair. It was an organized conspiracy to defraud me. And my mother-in-law was the mastermind. They didn't just want to betray me emotionally. They wanted to take everything I had worked for. They had turned me into a pawn in their dirty game. Tears streamed down my face. But this time, they were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of rage. Fine, I would play with them. But in this game, I would be the one to declare checkmate. And I didn't know that the day I chose to flip the board would be the most sacred day of our marriage. From the day I watched that fateful video, I became a different person. The shell of the gentle, long-suffering wife was completely shattered. Inside, only a cold, sharp, and calculating Chloe remained. I no longer cried, no longer tormented myself. Every day I went to the spa, smiled, and managed my business flawlessly. But when I returned home, I put on another mask, one of fatigue and distraction to hide the storm raging within me. I knew if I showed my hand too early, they would become suspicious. My play had to be performed perfectly until the final act. I began my silent counterattack. Following the advice of my lawyer, David, I secretly gathered all the evidence. I saved all the video clips from the hidden cameras. I downloaded all the bank statements, highlighting every suspicious expense Michael made. I found all the deeds to the house and cars, the insurance policies in my name. I organized them meticulously into an irrefutable file. With each new piece of evidence, I felt like I was loading another bullet. At the same time, I started executing my own financial plan. Using the excuse that I needed a large amount of capital to open a fourth spa branch, I asked Michael to sign several authorization forms. Distracted and wanting to appear the supportive husband, he signed them without a second thought, not even reading the fine print. He didn't know that among those papers was a crucial document, a power of attorney, giving me full authority over our joint assets. With that paper in hand, I quietly transferred the majority of our joint savings into a new account solely in my name. I also began to transfer the major business contracts of my spa chain to a new company I had secretly established. I was slowly building a lifeboat for myself, preparing for the day I would abandon this sinking ship of a marriage. Life in that house became a grand stage where all four of us were actors. Michael and Ashley continued their affair behind my back, though with a bit more caution. My mother-in-law still played the role of the caring matriarch, occasionally calling to advise me to be gentler with my husband, and I played the part of a wife weary from work, slightly saddened by her husband's neglect, but still completely trusting. I deliberately initiated petty arguments and staged moody silences to make them think I was still the same naive woman, getting jealous over nothing. They had no idea that their every action, every lie was under my complete surveillance. Time flew by and soon our 10th wedding anniversary was approaching. An idea sparked in my mind. This was the perfect moment to bring down the curtain. An anniversary, a day that should have been filled with love and happiness, would become a day of judgment, a day of truth and humiliation. I decided to turn this day into a weapon, a fatal blow to their deception. A week before the anniversary, I began to plan. I acted incredibly excited. I told Michael, "Honey, our 10th anniversary is almost here. I want to do something really special." Perhaps wanting to atone for his guilt or simply to play his part well, he responded enthusiastically, "Of course, my love. Anything you want, I want." I hesitated, feigning shyness. "I want to prepare a romantic dinner just for the two of us right here at home. I'll cook all your favorite dishes. We'll reminisce about our memories." "That's a wonderful idea," he exclaimed, pulling me into a hug. "I'll be home early that night. I promise no meetings or clients will get in the way." He didn't know his promise was about to become his most blatant lie. I also spoke to Ashley. "Ashley, our 10th anniversary is coming up. I'd like some private time with Michael." Ashley immediately nodded, her face full of understanding. "Of course, ma'am, I understand. Don't you worry. I'll leave early that morning." She didn't know I wasn't letting her go home. I was just giving her the perfect excuse to stay and participate in their own private party. Everything was set. The stage was built. The actors were ready for their roles. I was ready for my role as director. I had contacted my lawyer, David, and told him my plan. He was a little concerned, but eventually agreed to support me. He promised to be there at the right time with the undeniable evidence. And then the fateful day arrived. That morning, I woke up and looked at the man sleeping soundly beside me. 10 years. I had spent 10 years loving this person, but today would be the last. I no longer felt pain, only a cold determination. I would turn this anniversary into the memorial for our marriage. I would make them pay for everything they had done. I would make them remember this surprise party forever. But I had no idea that the truth I was about to witness that afternoon would be even more crude and filthy than anything I had prepared myself for. Our 10th anniversary began like a dream. I woke up early and prepared an elaborate breakfast. Michael hugged me from behind, inhaling the scent of my hair and whispering, "Happy anniversary, my love. Tonight, the world is yours." His words were still as sweet as honey, but all I felt was a cold prickle. I smiled, turned around, and stood on my toes to give him a light kiss. "I'll be waiting for you." After he left for work, I began preparing for my party. I went to the supermarket and bought the freshest ingredients. I cleaned the house, arranged a vase of deep red roses, the kind he used to give me. I decorated the dining room with scented candles and soft silk ribbons. Everything was perfectly arranged, as if I were truly looking forward to a romantic evening. At the same time, I checked the hidden cameras again. All were working perfectly. I also called my lawyer, David, to confirm the time. Everything was in place. Around 4 p.m., as I was in the kitchen putting the final touches on the steak, my phone rang. It was Michael. "Hello, honey," I answered, keeping my voice cheerful. "Are you on your way home?" There was a pause on the other end. Then his voice, full of exhaustion and guilt, came through. "Chloe, I am so sorry. Something urgent just came up. The CEO just flew in from Singapore and called an emergency meeting with the entire board. I can't get out of it. I probably won't be home until late." We'll have to postpone our dinner. I stood frozen, the phone in my hand, feeling as though a bucket of ice water had been dumped on me in the middle of winter. Even though I knew he was a liar, even though I was prepared, I never imagined he could be so cruel. On our 10th anniversary, he still chose to deceive me so brazenly. Oh, it's okay, honey. I managed to choke back a sob, my voice trembling. Work is more important. You go to your meeting. I'll wait for you at home. I'm sorry 1,000 times, he said, his voice thick with fake remorse. I'll make it up to you. I promise. I love you so much. I hung up, my hand shaking so badly, I couldn't hold the phone anymore. It slipped and crashed onto the kitchen floor, shattering into pieces, just like my heart. I had held on to a sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, he would have a shred of conscience, at least for today. But no, he had proven to me that I meant nothing to him. My tears finally fell. For the first time, after days of suppression, I allowed myself to cry. I slumped to the kitchen floor, hugged my knees and sobbed. I cried for my own stupidity, for the 10 years of my youth that had been thrown away. But I didn't cry for long. The doorbell rang, pulling me back to reality. I quickly wiped my tears and took a deep breath to compose myself. I looked at the security monitor. It was a flower delivery. I remembered I had ordered a bouquet of lavender, the flower of devotion. How ironic. I opened the door and took the flowers, but as I was about to close it, I froze. In the distance at the end of the street, I saw a familiar figure. A girl in a white dress standing there holding a phone looking towards my house. It was Ashley. Why was she here? Didn't she say she was going home? A horrifying thought flashed through my mind. Could it be? Michael wasn't at a meeting. Was he somewhere nearby with her? And that phone call was just an act. I rushed back inside and immediately opened the camera app on my tablet. I quickly scrolled through the feeds. The yard, the gate, nothing. The living room was empty. His office, too. My heart pounded. Was I wrong? But just as I was about to close the app, another thought struck me. I hadn't installed a camera in the bedroom, but I had put one in the second-floor hallway directly opposite the master bedroom door. With trembling fingers, I tapped on it. The screen showed an empty hallway. The bedroom door was shut tight, but then I squinted. Something wasn't right. A faint sliver of light was visible from under the bedroom door, and through the camera's highly sensitive microphone, I could faintly hear music. A smooth jazz piece, Michael's favorite. He was home. He had lied to me. He had come home not to surprise me, but to surprise another woman. He had turned our anniversary into a secret tryst in our own home. The rage within me erupted, incinerating all the pain, all the weakness. I couldn't think anymore. I only knew I couldn't let them have their peace. I turned off the tablet and walked straight out the door. I wouldn't go back in just yet. I would give them enough time to enjoy their party. I drove to a nearby cafe and ordered a black coffee. No sugar, bitter. I sat there watching the clock tick by minute after minute. I waited until the sky turned dark. I waited until I was sure they were at the peak of their illicit celebration. And then when the clock struck 7 p.m., I stood up. It was time for me to go back. It was time for their play to end and for mine to begin. I had no idea that the scene I was about to witness would be more disgusting and shameless than the darkest corners of my imagination. I drove home in an eerie silence. The familiar road now seemed endless. With every passing street light, my heart grew colder. I no longer felt pain. It was a numbness, a harsh acceptance that everything was truly over. I had only one goal left, to make them pay for their depravity. The car stopped in the driveway. The lights in the house were on, but the curtains were drawn. The clumsy attempt at concealment only made me want to laugh. I got out of the car, leaving the expensive wine and the prepared food behind. I only brought my phone, my only weapon now. I used my own key to open the door quietly. The house was still, but it was the stillness of a trap waiting for its prey. The living room was empty. The romantic dinner table I had set was untouched, looking forlorn and out of place. The smooth jazz music still drifted down from the second floor. I didn't go upstairs immediately. I walked a slow circle around the first floor like a queen inspecting her domain one last time. Everything was in its place. The objects I had personally chosen and arranged, but they were no longer mine. They had been tainted by deceit. As I passed the master bathroom on the first floor, my heart skipped another beat. The door was not fully closed, but slightly ajar. And from within came not just music, but other sounds, running water, laughter, whispers. My heart felt as if it were being squeezed by an invisible hand. Could it be? They weren't in the bedroom. Could they dare? A morbid curiosity propelled me forward. I couldn't stop myself. I tiptoed closer, step by step, holding my breath. Through the crack in the door, under the dim yellow light, a scene more repulsive than anything I could have imagined assaulted my eyes. In the heart-shaped jacuzzi tub, the one I had specially chosen for our relaxing moments together, were Michael and Ashley. Both were completely naked, soaking in the warm, soapy water. Rose petals were scattered around the tub, and scented candles burned, creating a disgustingly romantic atmosphere. Michael was leaning back, and Ashley was sitting in his lap, her back to him, her head resting on his chest. His hands were constantly caressing her body. They were laughing, whispering, and sharing wet kisses. In my bathtub, in my house, on my 10th wedding anniversary. I felt nothing anymore. No pain, no anger, no resentment, just a bottomless disgust. It felt like thousands of insects were crawling inside my chest. I was wrong. I had underestimated their shamelessness. They didn't just betray me. They were humiliating me openly in the cruelest way possible. They had turned the most sacred space in our marriage into a filthy den of sin. I silently backed away, my hands trembling, not from fear, but from a resolve that had been pushed to its absolute limit. I would not storm in. I would not give them the satisfaction of seeing me scream, of seeing me suffer. No, I would give them an even more spectacular party. I turned and walked away as quietly as a cat. I went upstairs into their bedroom, then into Ashley's room. I did exactly what I had planned. I gathered all their clothes from the closets, the bed, the laundry basket. I left nothing, not even their dirty underwear. I grabbed their phones, wallets, and car keys. I took everything to the storage closet and locked the door tight. Then I returned to the first floor hallway. Their repulsive laughter still echoed. I walked to the bathroom door and gently closed it. The click of the latch was dry and sharp. Then I took out my keys and found the one for the bathroom. I inserted it into the lock. A cold metallic click. The door was now locked from the outside. With that done, I calmly walked into the living room and sat on the sofa. I picked up my phone, opened the texting app, and found the Anderson Family Circle group chat. I took a deep breath, my fingers flying across the keyboard, typing a message with a cheerful and enthusiastic tone. But every word was laced with venom. Hey everyone, I have a huge surprise. We're throwing a special anniversary party at our place tonight. I'd be honored if you could all come over right now to celebrate with us. There's going to be a very unique underwater performance that I guarantee you'll never forget. I hit send. A notification pinged. I put the phone down. From the bathroom, the jazz music had stopped. In its place were panicked knocks and screams. Who's there? Who locked the door? Chloe, is that you? Open this door right now. A cold smile played on my lips. My surprise party was only just beginning, and I couldn't wait to see the looks on my esteemed guests' faces when they witnessed this one-of-a-kind performance. The time after I hit send dragged on with excruciating slowness. Every second felt like a century. Inside the bathroom, the pounding on the door grew more frantic, more desperate. The screams of Michael and Ashley mingled, shifting from surprise and anger to panic and fear. Chloe, I know you're out there. Open the door. Stop this crazy game. Chloe, please. I'm begging you. Let me out. I'm scared. I sat motionless on the sofa, arms crossed, legs elegantly crossed. I closed my eyes, savoring their symphony of desperation. This was the sound I wanted to hear. This was the first payment for what they had done. I didn't answer. My silence was the cruelest torture. The more they screamed, the more they exposed their own weakness and guilt. About 20 minutes later, my phone began to buzz. Messages from the Anderson Family Circle chat started flooding in. A party? How sudden. That was from an aunt. What's the happy occasion? Why didn't you tell us sooner? An uncle's curious text. We're on our way. Can't wait. And then the person I was waiting for most spoke up. My mother-in-law, Barbara. You silly girl. Always making a fuss. Your father and I are in the middle of dinner. Fine. Fine. I'll call the others to come along. The more the merrier. I smiled. Everything was going according to plan. With her love for showing off and being the center of attention, she would never miss a party, especially one hosted by the daughter-in-law she was secretly trying to oust. She would drag everyone along, turning my party into an unforgettable event for the entire clan. Just as I predicted, not 30 minutes later, the doorbell rang. The first guests had arrived. I checked the security monitor, Michael's younger sister and her husband with their 2 small children. I took a deep breath, put on my most serene expression, and went to open the door. Hi, come on in. I smiled, a perfect hostess's smile. Chloe, what's this about a party on such short notice? My sister-in-law asked, surprised as she stepped inside. The house doesn't exactly look ready for a party. It's a special party, I replied, my voice laced with hidden meaning. It will begin shortly. Make yourselves at home. Just then, the screams and pounding from the bathroom grew louder and clearer. Help me. Is anyone out there? Open the door. My sister-in-law and her husband jumped, looking at each other. What's that noise, Chloe? Her husband asked, a confused look on his face. Oh, it's probably just the TV, I answered casually, walking to the kitchen to get them drinks. Action movie. Michael's been into that kind of thing lately. They seemed skeptical, but seeing my calm demeanor, they didn't dare ask more. Then more guests arrived in succession. The uncle and his wife, then 2 aunts and their families. The once quiet living room became noisy and crowded. Everyone was curious. Everyone asked about the surprise party, and everyone heard the increasingly desperate sounds coming from the bathroom. Oh God, somebody help us. We're trapped. Ashley's voice was becoming from screaming. Chloe, you vicious woman. You open this door right now. Michael's curses were mixed in. The people in the living room could no longer pretend not to hear. They looked at me, then at each other. Whispers started to circulate. What's going on? That sounds like Michael and the housekeeper. Why are they in there? And why is Chloe so calm? I remained silent, simply walking around, refilling tea, offering fruit. My expression didn't change, as if I truly heard nothing. My terrifying calmness only made the atmosphere in the room more bizarre and tense. No one dared to ask me directly. They could only exchange confused glances. And then the main characters of the drama arrived. My parents-in-law. Barbara walked in with a beaming face, followed by my father-in-law Robert. What's all this noisy party about? She started to say, then froze. She noticed the strange atmosphere in the room, and more importantly, she heard the screams of her precious son. Michael, Michael, where are you? She called out, alarmed. Mom, help me. Chloe locked me in here. Michael's voice shouted back, filled with the relief of someone who had just found a lifeline. All eyes turned to me. Barbara rushed towards me, her eyes blazing. You, what did you do to my son? Open that door right now. She raised her hand to slap me, but I stepped back. Calm down, Barbara, I said coldly. Your son is busy with the party's main performance. You and everyone else should just sit down and wait a little longer. The best part is yet to come. You. She was so furious she was speechless, left standing there panting. Robert also stepped forward, his face grim. Chloe, don't take this too far. Open the door. I'm not the one taking it too far, Robert, I replied, my voice even. Your son is. I think it's time everyone knew his true face. I turned to the crowd, raising my voice. Aunts, uncles, cousins, thank you all for coming on such short notice. The performance I promised is about to begin. I just want to ask you all one question. Are you curious to know what gift my husband gave me on our 10th wedding anniversary? My question silenced everyone. And I knew that bathroom door was about to become the stage for an unforgettable show. My question hung in the thick, heavy air. The large living room fell into a suffocating silence. The whispering had stopped. They just stared at me, then glanced towards the bathroom door, which was still trembling from the now weakening sounds of pleading and cursing. They knew this was no joke. A real drama was about to unfold. Barbara, after her initial burst of anger, seemed to have faintly guessed what was happening. Her face turned from red to a deathly pale. She stopped screaming, just staring at me with a look of both hatred and something akin to fear. She knew her son wasn't innocent, but perhaps she never imagined I would dare to do something so audacious. "Chloe," Robert spoke, his voice low and strained, trying to hold on to the last vestiges of his authority as the head of the family. "I'm telling you one last time, open the door. Family matters should not be aired out for everyone to see. You are disgracing this entire family." "Disgracing the family?" I turned to him, a faint, cold smile on my lips. "Oh, Robert, the one disgracing this family isn't me. I am merely pulling back a filthy curtain so everyone can see the truth that's been hidden behind it. I think as family members, everyone here has the right to know what kind of man their nephew, their cousin, the man they've always been so proud of, truly is." I didn't wait for a reaction. I calmly walked to the bathroom door. My hand rested on the doorknob, but I didn't turn it just yet. I looked back at all the tense faces in the living room. "Is everyone ready for the show?" I asked, my voice still sweet, but laced with undisguised cruelty. No one answered. They just held their breath, waiting. I could see the curiosity mixed with anxiety in their eyes. They wanted to know the truth, yet they were afraid to face it. "All right, if you're all ready," I said, then slowly inserted the key into the lock. The click of metal was sharp and clear in the silent room. Inside, hearing the key, Michael and Ashley seemed to have found a flicker of hope. They stopped banging on the door. "She's opening it. She's opening it." I heard Ashley exclaim with relief. They thought their nightmare was ending. They had no idea it was just beginning. I turned the key. The lock clicked open. I grasped the handle, took a deep breath, and then in front of the entire extended family, I pulled the door wide open. The first thing that hit everyone was a cloud of hot, misty steam. And as the steam cleared, the main stage was revealed. The heart-shaped jacuzzi tub was still full of soap suds and crushed rose petals. The scented candles had burned down, dripping wax onto the floor. And in the middle of this romantic scene were our two main characters, Michael and Ashley, both completely naked. They were cowering in the tub, their faces ashen, their eyes wide with shock. Seeing the door swing open and dozens of pairs of eyes staring at them, they froze as if turned to stone. Ashley, with a woman's instinct, quickly crouched down, her arms crossed over her chest, trying to cover herself. But the act only made the scene more pathetic. Michael just stood there dumbfounded, his eyes darting from me to the stunned crowd of relatives outside. His mouth was agape, but no sound came out. The house fell into an absolute terrifying silence, a silence more frightening than any scream. Everyone was speechless. The aunts, the uncles, the cousins all stood motionless, staring at the unbelievable sight before them. They had heard, they had guessed, but to witness it with their own eyes was still too great a shock. A man with a wife, a respected member of the family, caught in such a depraved act with the young, innocent housekeeper in his own home. The silence was finally broken not by my voice, nor by the two sinners, but by a piercing shriek from Barbara. She clutched her chest, her eyes wide, then swayed and collapsed onto the floor. "Mom! Barbara!" Panicked shouts erupted. The room descended into chaos. Some rushed to help Barbara. Others looked for smelling salts. Someone called for an ambulance. Amidst the pandemonium, I remained standing at the doorway, my cold gaze fixed on the two figures cowering in the bathtub. I looked at Michael at the shame, fear, and hatred filling his eyes. I said nothing, just gave a slight chilling smirk. "My party, your performance, was it spectacular enough for you, my dear husband?" And I knew this was only the opening act. The real storm was just beginning. My house instantly transformed into a chaotic mess. The sounds of screaming, crying, whispering, and Barbara's moans blended into a deafening, chaotic cacophony. Barbara hadn't really fainted. She was just putting on another act. The role of a heartbroken mother, devastated by her son's sins, hoping to divert attention and garner sympathy. But her act was no longer effective. People might pity her, but they could never erase the filthy image they had just witnessed. Amidst the chaos, I remained the only calm one. I didn't rush to help Barbara, nor did I pay any mind to the gossip swirling around me. My eyes were still locked on the two culprits in the bathroom. They were still cowering there, not daring to step out. They had no clothes, not a scrap to cover themselves. They were completely isolated, exposed to the judgment of everyone. A moment later, having regained some composure, my father-in-law, Robert, roared, "What are you still standing there for? Find something to cover yourselves and get to your room now." He turned to my sister-in-law. "Go to Chloe's room and get them 2 towels." The sister-in-law, her face, still pale with shock, scurried upstairs. A few seconds later, she tossed 2 bath towels into the bathroom and ran out, not daring to look for another second. Michael and Ashley hastily wrapped the towels around themselves. They stumbled out, heads bowed, trying to squeeze through the crowd to get to the second floor. Every step they took was met with contemptuous stares and sarcastic whispers. "My God, I can't believe it. He always seems so respectable. And that little housekeeper, she looks so innocent. But what a snake." I stood there, arms crossed, watching them flee in shame. This was the price they had to pay. Once the 2 sinners had disappeared, all attention turned back to me. Barbara, now being helped onto the sofa, began her performance of tears and sorrow. She no longer cursed at me. She turned to the aunts, grabbing their hands, tears streaming down her face. "Oh, what have I done to deserve this? I raised my son, found him a good wife, and this is how he repays me. Shaming our family name and my daughter-in-law. She knows. But instead of advising her husband, she stages this whole thing to humiliate us. What's the point of me living anymore?" She was a master manipulator. She was trying to paint herself and her son as victims while I became the cruel, heartless wife who didn't know how to protect the family's honor. A few of the relatives, those who had never liked me, began to chime in. "That's right. They're still husband and wife. Family problems should be handled privately. What Chloe did was a bit too much." "Exactly. Making a scene like this, how can we face the neighbors?" I just smirked. I knew this was my moment to speak. I couldn't let them twist the truth, turning me from the victim into the villain. I calmly walked to stand before Barbara and the crowd of relatives. "Barbara, aunts, uncles," I began, my voice clear and firm. "I know that what I did today might seem extreme to all of you, but I want to ask you one question. If you were in my shoes, what would you have done?" I didn't wait for an answer. I continued, "For the past 10 years, have I not fulfilled my duties as a daughter-in-law, as a wife? Have I ever let this family want for anything? Have I ever been disrespectful to my elders or the extended family?" The room fell silent. No one could deny what I had done for this family. I tolerated it. I overlooked things. My voice began to tremble slightly, not from weakness, but from rage. I lied to myself that my husband was just being thoughtless, that the signs were just coincidences. But I couldn't tolerate it anymore when that housekeeper, the one sleeping with my husband, dared to challenge and humiliate me. I couldn't stay silent anymore when my own mother-in-law, the woman I always respected, was the one covering for, even encouraging, her son's wrongdoing. You're lying." Barbara jumped up, pointing a finger at my face. "When did I ever cover for him? You didn't." I stared directly into her eyes, my gaze as sharp as a razor. "Then, do you remember what you said to Michael and Ashley last Friday morning when I was away on business? You advised your son to keep seeing Ashley, but to be discreet. You said to wait a few more years until you had control of the finances, then he could leave me. Do you need me to play the recording for you and the entire family to hear it clearly?" My words were like a second bomb exploding in the living room. Barbara froze, her face white as a sheet, her lips moving, but no words coming out. She never imagined her vicious plot had been recorded. The relatives were also stunned, looking at Barbara with disbelief. It turned out this woman, who always preached about morality and family values, was capable of such despicable thoughts and actions. The tables had finally turned. I was no longer the villain they tried to paint me as. I was the victim standing up to expose an organized conspiracy. And I knew this wasn't all. The play still had one final act. An act where not just the emotional truth, but the financial truth would also be laid bare. An act that would bring this entire sordid drama to its most climactic conclusion. My words about the recording acted like a paralytic agent, completely disabling Barbara's ability to fight back. She slumped onto the sofa, her eyes vacant, mumbling nonsense. She had lost miserably and humiliatingly in front of her entire family. The relatives, after a moment of shock, began to look at her differently. Not with respect, but with contempt and disappointment. My goodness, I never knew Barbara was that kind of person. No wonder Chloe had to go to such lengths. You really can't judge a book by its cover. Robert, witnessing his wife's downfall, could no longer maintain his composure either. He sat silently in a corner, his face having aged 10 years in an instant. This family, which had always prided itself on its values and reputation, was now a joke. A complete ruin. Just as the tension in the room reached its peak, the doorbell rang again. Everyone startled. Who else could be coming at this hour? I calmly walked over and opened the door. Standing outside was David, my lawyer. He was dressed in a sharp black suit carrying a leather briefcase flanked by 2 young associates. His professional and confident demeanor immediately commanded everyone's attention. Good evening, everyone. My name is David, and I am legal counsel for my client, Miss Chloe Anderson, he announced as he walked in. His voice clear and firm, echoing through the living room. I am here today at Miss Anderson's request to clarify a few legal matters in the presence of the entire family. The arrival of a lawyer was a devastating blow to my in-laws. They never imagined that I would not only cause a scene, but also prepare for a full-fledged legal battle. Michael and Ashley, hearing the commotion, had cautiously crept downstairs. Upon seeing David and his team, their faces turned even paler. David gave them no time to recover. He opened his briefcase, taking out stacks of documents and arranging them neatly on the coffee table. Ladies and gentlemen, he began. First, regarding the illicit relationship between Mr. Michael Anderson and Miss Ashley, we have more than enough irrefutable evidence, including photographs, videos, and witness statements. This provides a solid foundation for Miss Anderson to file for divorce on the grounds of adultery, with all fault lying with Mr. Anderson. He paused, his eyes shifting to Michael. Secondly, and more importantly, is the matter of finances. He held up a thick file. This is a detailed record of all bank transactions, contracts for high-value assets, and financial statements from Miss Anderson and Mr. Anderson's marriage over the past 10 years. Upon analysis, we have found clear evidence of misappropriation of assets and a systematic attempt by Mr. Anderson to conceal marital property. The room was silent once more. Everyone held their breath. David flipped through the pages, his voice as precise as a prosecutor's. Specifically, over the last 3 years, Mr. Anderson has withdrawn large sums of money from the couple's joint account under the pretext of business investments. However, when we traced the flow of these funds, we found that all of it was transferred to the personal accounts of Miss Ashley and several of her family members. The total amount exceeds $2 million. No, that's not true, Michael stammered, trying to object. That was money I loaned her. A loan? David smirked. We also have audio recordings of Mr. Anderson and Miss Ashley discussing their plans to use this money to purchase a vacation home in Aspen. This was not a loan. This was the misappropriation of marital assets, he continued relentlessly. Furthermore, we have evidence that Mrs. Barbara Anderson, Mr. Anderson's mother, repeatedly solicited large sums of money from Miss Anderson under the guise of family support. These amounts will also be considered as part of an organized scheme to defraud our client. He turned to Barbara, who sat motionless on the sofa. Ma'am, if proven in court, these actions could constitute criminal charges. The final bomb had been dropped. This was no longer just a divorce. It could be a criminal case. Fear was now etched on all of their faces. They thought they were just cheating a naive wife. They never dreamed their actions had serious legal consequences. Therefore, David concluded, his voice hardening, we are here today to present you with a choice. Either the family accepts the terms of the settlement agreement we have drafted, in which Mr. Anderson will repay the full amount he misappropriated and walk away with nothing, or we will submit this entire file to the court and the district attorney's office. The choice is yours. He placed a pre-drafted divorce settlement on the table. All eyes were fixed on it as if it were a death sentence. The Anderson family, the people who had always been so arrogant, so dismissive of others, were now completely cornered. They had nowhere left to run. Their play, the drama of a respectable moral family, had officially ended in utter shame and ruin. And I knew that from this moment on, their lives would never be the same again. The silence that followed David's ultimatum was more terrifying than a hurricane. It was the silence of total collapse, of absolute despair. The entire Anderson clan sat like statues, their faces drained of all color. They looked from the settlement agreement on the table to each other with panicked eyes. The show was over, and they had no roles left to play. Robert was the first to break. The patriarch, the man who valued his reputation above all else, could not withstand the humiliation. He clutched his chest, his face turning a purplish hue, and slowly crumpled to the floor. Dad. Robert. The house once again erupted in frantic screams, but this time it was a chaos born of fear and helplessness. While everyone scrambled to call 911 and help Robert, David and I remained seated. We didn't leave. We needed a final answer. A while later, after the paramedics had come and stabilized Robert, Michael staggered out of the room. He looked like a walking corpse. His once perfectly styled hair was a mess. His designer clothes were wrinkled. He couldn't look me in the eye. He walked to the coffee table, picked up the pen with a trembling hand, and without a word, he bent over and signed his name on the settlement. Each shaky, scrawled letter was a belated confession. As he put the pen down, Barbara emerged from the room. She was no longer crying or screaming. She looked decades older, her eyes swollen and lifeless. She looked at me, then at the paper bearing her son's signature. A long, weary sigh escaped her. "Take it," she said, her voice raspy. "Consider it our debt to you." I said nothing, merely nodding to David. He carefully checked the signature, then gathered all the documents back into his briefcase. "Our work here is done. We will take our leave," David said politely. I stood up silently and walked towards the door. I felt no triumphant joy. All I felt was a profound exhaustion and immense emptiness. 10 years. 10 years of my youth, of love and sacrifice, had ended with a trembling signature and a bitter admission of debt. As I walked out that door, I knew a chapter of my life had officially closed. A chapter filled with false sweetness and very real pain. The days that followed were filled with a necessary quiet. I moved out of the mansion and back into my own small apartment, the one I lived in before I was married. The divorce and asset transfer were handled quickly and professionally by David. As agreed, Michael walked away with nothing. The house, the cars, and all the money he had stolen were returned to me. I heard through the grapevine that the Anderson family had to sell their own home to cover debts and Robert's medical bills. Michael, having lost everything, his wife, his wealth, his honor, never recovered. He lost his job and spiraled into alcoholism and meaningless flings. Without money, Ashley quickly abandoned him, disappearing without a trace. Their deep love had been built on nothing more than deceit and materialism. Barbara, after the immense shock, fell into a deep depression. She never left her house, ashamed to face anyone. Their family, once so proud of its status, was now in ruins. A costly lesson in greed and lies. They paid an exorbitant price for what they had done. I didn't gloat over their downfall. I only saw the harsh truth of karma. You reap what you sow. They had sown the wind, and now they were reaping the whirlwind. As for me, I refused to dwell in the past. I started a new life. I focused on growing my spa business. Work brought me joy and restored my confidence. I rediscovered old hobbies: painting, dancing, joining book clubs. I traveled more, exploring new lands, meeting new people. I realized how vast and beautiful the world was, and that happiness didn't have to come from a man. I also did something I felt was necessary. I used a portion of the recovered money to establish a small foundation named the Phoenix Fund. It was dedicated to providing free legal and psychological support to women who were victims of domestic abuse or deception in their marriages. I wanted to use my story, my experience, to help other women, so they wouldn't have to endure the pain and helplessness I had known. One afternoon, while giving a speech at the foundation's launch event, I saw a familiar figure at the back of the hall. It was Michael. He looked thin and much older. He didn't dare come closer, just stood in the distance, watching me quietly. In his eyes, I no longer saw arrogance or calculation, only regret and belated remorse. Our eyes met for a fleeting moment. I didn't look away. I just gave a slight nod. A nod not of forgiveness, but of peace. All debts were settled. When the event ended, David came up to me smiling. "You were truly brilliant today, Chloe. It's all thanks to you." I replied with a sincere smile. Thank you, my amazing ally. We looked out the window together as the sun set over the city, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and red. I knew my life, like a phoenix, had truly been reborn from the ashes. A new future, a new journey was opening up for me. And this time I would write my own happy ending. One filled not with lies but with sincerity and peace.